Hey, this is Edward Stevens with the Stevens Group at Reese Nichols, the #1 most awesome real estate brokerage in the entire universe. Reese Nichols coming in big for the Stevens Group. A lot of very helpful staff out there. Big shout out to Reese Nichols, especially Reese Nichols Leewood. So today, what are we going to talk about? It's still, despite all the political uncertainty, despite the fact that it's the holidays, we all know that the best homes are still hitting the market and being sold off the market in just a few short days. It's not anything uncommon to have a multiple offer situation on a home, even in the dead of winter. If it's that jewel in the neighborhood, if it's that totally move-in ready, perfectly staged, elegantly photographed, video 360 tour, the whole thing, perfect school district, reasonably priced, maybe priced below market value because they're trying to induce a bidding war, right? Not anything uncommon to see something like that just fly right off the shelf same day. Question is, how do you become that one buyer that's going to get that awesome home? Same question we get asked every day. And of course, if we don't know the answer, we can't survive in the real estate market. We're not only competing against cash buyers, investors, we're people who are coming from out of state, people who are coming from California, willing to pay more than the market value sometimes because they see how inexpensive real estate is here in the Kansas City metro. Sometimes we aren't always going to be the highest, I should say, monetarily, the highest offer. So you have to have a certain number of tactics that you can pull from your bag of tricks in order to be that winning offer. And today we're going to talk about one of my favorite tricks, one of my favorite tools in the tool belt, and that is the seller rent back. Now, what I'm probably going to do in a future video is walk through exactly what you should be asking the seller when you're evaluating the seller, when you're selling the seller. What should you be asking that seller so you understand the shot, okay? Glengarry Glen Ross, if you haven't watched that movie, watch that movie, okay? Al Pacino says, never open your mouth until you know the shot. Okay, that's a famous line in that movie, real estate movie. There is a sequence of questions you need to be asking the seller in order to understand where to be able to negotiate, okay, in this transaction. What's important to the seller? What are some things you can negotiate on? What are the things that you can't and you must comply with, okay? That'll be for a future video. One of the questions, though, that you're going to ask in that series, in that sort of interview with the seller, or if it's an agent situation and you may be the agent or you may be representing yourself, you're dealing with the seller's agent, you want to know about their time frame. You want to know, when is the seller needing to move? When is the seller needing to close? Those numbers, those dates may not be the same dates, okay? What a lot of times sellers will tell you is, hey, we can close in 30 days. We're still trying to find a home, and so we may need a couple weeks, and so just give us 45 days because we're going to go out there and start looking for a home. And we're going to not want to be homeless, so that's what you're up against, okay? So give us a 45-day closing date. Write on the offer that we're going to close in 45 days. That way the seller doesn't end up homeless, right? That's what the seller may tell you. So what I want to talk to you about today is a solution that may be a little bit better than writing a 45-day closing. And it's a solution that you can use as long as you understand all the parts and pieces, okay? You can start using it tomorrow or even tonight. And it's called the rent back. Essentially what it is you are agreeing to rent the property back to the seller once you close. You're going to close on the property. You're going to go to the title company, sign all the documents. If you're taking a mortgage, you're going to take You're going to sign all the documents for your loan, all the documents for the deed. You are going to become the legal owner of the property, right? And the seller is going to remain there for some amount of time. So why would you do that? Number one, the reason why it's beneficial to you is really because it's going to be beneficial to the seller. That's the only reason why you probably want to do that. Well, I could probably think of some other reason, but in this context of what we're talking about here, you're doing this because it's going to accommodate the seller. That's something that the seller will want, okay? Move on to the next question. Why would the seller want that? Why would a seller want to live in a home that's rented to them? As we stated before, that is one of the biggest fears of sellers, is the idea of homelessness. They put their home on the market, it sells really fast, and they can't find a home. That scares the hell out of most sellers. They start thinking about all the expenses involved in moving in with a family member or moving into a short-term lease, packing all of their stuff into storage, not knowing exactly, then they start thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to turn into a longer-term thing. They might have to take more than time off of work than they originally needed to. It becomes a mess. It stresses sellers out. And so the rent back allows the seller to stay in their present home and not worry about it, okay? You can keep them there for a few days or a few weeks. You can tell them, hey, pay me market rent per month until you find another place, okay? Most sellers have not thought about this as an option. Most agents have not thought about this as an option. And when you present it as an option, when you say, hey, would your seller be interested in a rent back? Would your seller be interested in staying in their present home for a while until they are able to find a nice place? That way they don't have to rush. They can get the home they want rather than just, whatever home comes on the market. Most of them are going to love you for it. They're going to love that idea. They're going to associate that love with you. They're going to think you are a guy who's solution-oriented or a gal. And they're probably going to be more likely to accept your offer. Now, the other thing is it's not just homelessness that they are worried about. Even if people aren't worried about homelessness, they may be worried about making an offer in today's real estate climate that is contingent upon the sale of their home. Watch previous videos to understand what contingency means, contingent upon the sale of a home. I'll probably end up doing another video on that, but if the seller has to close on their home in order to be eligible for their next one, they're kind of hamstrung, right? They would rather have the one that they're in right now off the books financially. They do not own it anymore, so that they can go out and get a more competitive loan. They can go out into the marketplace and make a more competitive offer on homes. And they don't have to worry about being outbid or being outmaneuvered by buyers who are not contingent. Buyers who do not have to sell a home, right? It makes you less competitive when you have to sell your home in order to buy another home. And as the owner of the home, you know that, and you're afraid. If you're not afraid of homelessness, you're afraid of having to go out into the marketplace and have this albatross around your neck. Is that even a term? I thought an albatross was a bird. I don't know. I heard it once on TV, which is where I get all my information from, is the television. What were we talking about again? So think about those two things, homelessness, and also think about you're making them not have to have a contingent offer when they go out in the marketplace. This works especially well with older people who are downsizing, okay? They're fearful, a lot of them, about, and I love our older clients. They're fearful about moving twice, moving from the home they live in to an apartment and then an apartment to another home. A lot of them don't like that. And also, they are more likely to not get their contingent offer accepted, because if you think about it, if you're moving from a $700,000 home and you are moving into a $300,000 home, those $300,000 homes may be getting snapped up by first-time home buyers who don't have a home to sell, and you're competing with people who don't have a home to sell. These sellers are now having to compete with all these first-time home buyers, and they have this contingency around them, and they can't compete effectively. So by renting back to these people, you come in, you say, I'll close on your home, I'm going to rent it back to you, and then you can stay there for as long as you want, a few days, few weeks, whatever. Then you're more likely to get your offer accepted, and you're willing, the seller is going to be more able to get their offer accepted when they move, okay? Quick little caveat, little asterisk on this, and that is when it comes to how long you can let this person stay in your home that you own as a tenant. I want to talk to you about that a little bit. When you rent back, when you close on a home and then you don't move in right away, you let the seller become your tenant, there needs to be a lease in place. Okay, so have your real estate agent, your real estate attorney, or if you know how to do it, you draft it, a solid lease so that you understand what the rent is going to be. Maybe it's not going to be any rent, but whatever the rent is, you establish that, you establish the terms of the tenancy, so that all the ground rules are set, okay? Next is if you're sending over an offer and you're going to buy this home and you're going to rent it back to them and you're going to take a loan, there are certain things you need to be aware of as it relates to the type of loan you're taking. Because if you're going to take a loan that is an owner-occupied loan, okay, meaning you're going to live there at the home eventually, and you've told the lender you're going to make that your primary residence, you can't just let this person live there forever. You can't let this person live there for 6 months or a year, because that's not what your lender signed up for when they decided to give you a loan. Okay, they decided to give you a loan. They decided to give you the closing costs and the interest rate that they did because they understood you were going to be the one living there. You were not going to be renting that out to some other person right off the bat. You were going to move in, okay? And think about it from the lender standpoint, there is more risk involved when you become a landlord rather than when you move into the home yourself, right? You are more likely to work your butt off to keep those mortgage payments up to date when it's you that's got a house to lose, a roof over your head to lose, rather than your tenant. An owner-occupied loan, that's what they call it. You're going to live there. If you're planning to take an owner-occupied loan, because you're planning to live there, check with your lender to see what the length of time is, the maximum length of time is, that they will allow you to rent it to the seller. It could be, I have seen it like less than 30 days. I can't tell you exactly, so it's a lender question. It may have to do with the type of loan you take, FHA versus a VA versus a USDA or conventional. It may be something where you have to, check with your lender, and they may have to go check with whatever the standards are for that particular loan, okay? Even if it's a portfolio loan, even if it's the kind of loan where the bank's gonna do an in-house loan to you, like a special kind of custom loan for you, still wanna check with them, okay? Don't wanna be caught in a situation where your lender finds out you're not living at the home you told them you were gonna live in, you never moved in, even though you told them you were going to. That, my friends, is called mortgage fraud. That is how you have a bad time in real estate. So what did we learn today? If you use the rent back as a tactic in the negotiation up front to tell the sellers, hey, I'm going to accommodate you. I'm going to let you stay here at your home, comfortable, safe and sound. You don't have to go grab a short-term lease in an apartment. You're more likely to get your offer accepted. And the seller is more likely to get their offer accepted in the event that they're going to go buy a home. Previously, contingent, now they don't have to buy a home contingent because they've already closed on their home. Okay? Just one of many Stevens Group tactics used by us every day to help you get into the home of your dreams. And if I haven't already, I want to hear from you. If you've got questions, concerns, or if you have certain topics that you'd like us to talk about here, it's just your friend Edward Stevens, team lead of the Stevens Group at Reese Nichols Leawood. I look forward to seeing you, yes you, especially you, one day at the closing table. Talk soon.